Good morning, everyone. There we go. Let's see. Here we go. Good morning. This is Ted Murmagos. I am the State Division Director here at the Delaware Division of Child Support Services. This is the November 2022 Child Support Connection. This is what I like to call an opportunity for me to tell you what's been going on here at Child Support over the last month. And of course, one of the things I truly appreciate is being able to answer questions or thoughts or concerns from the public as it relates to maybe a current child support case, or if you're interested in starting a child support case, how to do that, and helping people resolve what concerns they may have as it relates to the child support program here in the state of Delaware. So I am extremely happy to be able to spend this hour with people who want to learn a little bit more about the child support program. One of the things I often will say on the Child Support Connection, or when I'm speaking with Jake Smith and members of the public, the third Wednesday of every month on WGMD 92.7, 98.5 down in Sussex County. It actually, now with their new edition of 98.5, can actually reach portions of Kent County. So third Wednesday of every month, I'm so grateful for Jake Smith and WGMD for giving me the opportunity to come down and talk about child support. And to be able to answer questions from our child support recipients or non-custodial parents in Kent and Sussex County. So as you know, if you've tuned into the Child Support Connection in the past, one of the very first things I like to do is to read our mission statement to give people an understanding of what our beliefs are here at the Child Support Program. And as I often say too, this mission statement was actually rewritten, I think, in around 2018. So it's our mission at the Delaware Division of Child Support Services to deliver quality customer support by partnering with parents to improve the lives of children and their families. So even though, the family may not be a unit, we certainly want to try to support every member of that family unit, joined by the fact that there's a child involved. So we partner with parents to improve the lives of children and their families. This is achieved through obtaining accurate child support orders to meet the financial, medical, and emotional needs to promote family self-sufficiency. And of course, the best outcomes for children. So, as a child support agency and a member, one of the divisions of the Department of Health and Social Services, it's our mission to support self-sufficiency. We want custodial parents in the family unit to be self-sufficient. We want at child support non-custodial parents, those are the individuals who have to pay child support, to be self-sufficient, to be able to support themselves and to make regular, consistent child support payments, and not to feel like, I have to make this payment and it's strapping me and me as a non-custodial parent and unable to pay any other of the bills that I have. So we certainly do want to help non-custodial parents become more self-sufficient, as well as custodial parents in the family unit. And we do some of that by partnering with our Division of Social Services as part of our employment and training program through our Delaware Fatherhood Program. And if you've tuned in and heard me talk about the Fatherhood Program, that program, just because it's called the Fatherhood Program, it's really open to both custodial parents and non-custodial parents, of course, because we want them to be able to pay their support. But it doesn't matter if you're a man or a female. We will accept anybody who wants to find a better opportunity, a job opportunity. We will accept anyone into that Delaware Fatherhood Program. But the thing is, you have to work with the Division of Social Service. You contact us, And when you speak to somebody at our customer service unit at 577-7171, or if you call your child support worker or you write them through the customer website, all you have to say is, I'd like to be referred to the Delaware Fatherhood Program, and we can help you find better employment opportunities that you may have now, help you make more money, and certainly help you meet your child support obligation. And we do a few things for non-custodial parents who are in our Delaware Fatherhood Program. If you're an active member and you're complying with participating in the fatherhood program, we will maybe forego certain enforcement actions like generating a contempt petition. But it does take a lot of work to comply with the employment and training vendors. But we certainly want to be able to help those folks succeed in meeting that child support obligation. That's one of the things we want to make sure we do. That's one of the things we do as part of our fatherhood program, is to work with people to help them find better jobs. And believe it or not, there are, you probably hear this, and I'm being a little facetious here. You hear it a little bit in the news reports that there's employers who are looking for employees or people to come work for them, and we, through our fatherhood program, can hook you up to find a job. So we want to be able to help you do that. Something else that's happening, and the discussion I just had goes to our mission statement. We want to help people to help them become self-sufficient. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, 1 week from today, on November 14th at 7 p.m., Child Support, the Delaware Division of Child Support Services, is going to be joining up with another vendor of ours, the Remand Project. And we are going to be doing a live event, in-person event, in Middletown, Delaware. And I'm going to, before we end the Child Support Connection at 12:30 today, I will either screen share so you can see an image of the flyer, or we'll post it to the Facebook page after the event. But we're teaming up at 7 p.m. on November 14th in Middletown with the Remand Project, and we're going to have a live in-person event for non-custodial parents who maybe are having some challenges with the child support program. I'm also inviting custodial parents. If you want to hear a little bit more about what we do and have questions about your child support case, that's another place for you to come in to ask those questions. We are going to be live on the 14th at 7 p.m. in Middletown. I've also just heard from Dr. Morton, Donald Morton, who is the Remand Project is his program. He's built it from the ground up. And we are going to try and do a live, just like this, a Facebook Live event, Dr. Morton and myself, in the next couple days to promote the event in Middletown. And really talk a little bit more about what Dr. Morton's program does and what our partnership with the Remand Project really means for the state of Delaware and non-custodial parents who, quite frankly, I'll be honest, non-custodial parents who maybe have not met their child support obligations over the years, but have really matured and said it's time to get on board and it's time to make a change in how I've been dealing with the child support program and how I've been making my child support payments. So, like I said, Middletown on the 14th, and I'm going to try to bring it up real quick. I checked. I don't see that there's any comments waiting for me at this point. So let me see if I can find the flyer, November event. So the November event is going to be held at the Living Grace Worship Cathedral, 100 West Green Street in Middletown, the 14th at 7 p.m. And we are really looking forward to having a lot of people show up for that event. We want to be able to talk to non-custodial parents and custodial parents to help them manage the child support process. And we really want to help people. And Dr. Morton, he's a really nice guy, and we really appreciate him and his group at the Remand Project for helping us. And we certainly want to be able to meet with the public and be able to kind of go over what's happening with their child support case. One of the things I love about meeting with the public is gives me an opportunity to tell them some things that they may not know about child support, some of the things that they may not hear just from their regular contact with our child support office. I always like to talk about how things have happened. And I talked about it a couple months ago, or maybe it was last month, it was in October, about how we have recently reinstated over 1,000 licenses. And as credit for that idea was as a result of a Remand Project event that we had in the city of Wilmington. Met with some non-custodial parents who talked about their licenses being suspended, and have been making child support payments. We suspended, we went back and looked at 2013. We had been suspending licenses. The non-custodial parent has had licenses suspended for years, but payments were coming in. So and consistently, so it only made sense to give them those licenses back. And it was an idea that came from the public, and it came at the I think it was a July event through the Remand Project, and from a non-custodial parent who attended that meeting. So it was a great opportunity. That it just goes to show you that you never know where ideas for change within the child support program comes from. We hear it all the time, that people want changes. They want to be able to change how we operate as an agency. Well, we can't say that everything we hear is going to result in a change, but when opportunities do present themselves, and good ideas are come from from all types of places, from all types of people, we will consider those ideas, and we will take steps to institute ideas that we think are valuable. And that was an awesome event in July in the city of Wilmington, and I'm hoping that on November 14th, 7 p.m. at the Living Grace Worship Cathedral, 100 West Green Street in Middletown. I hope people do come and turn out for that event so that we can talk a little bit about what we are doing here at the Child Support Office. So I'm checking periodically. I do not see any comments, so we'll just go ahead, and I have things I can certainly talk about. The other thing, just to a lot of things have happened over the last month. So another thing to kind of give you an update on some current events, we have issued recently a press release, and we sent notices out to about just over 5,000 employers here in Delaware and around the country that are sending child support payments to our office. That we are switching banks. So right now, the Delaware Child Support Office does business with PNC Bank. We, effective November 14th, will now start to be using a TD Bank here in the state of Delaware. So for non-custodial parent employers, what that means is they have to do some updates on how they will process electronic payments to the Child Support Office. It only affects employers in that aspect. If they're sending child support a check, nothing changes. Continue to send it to the Child Support Office, and we will process it as normal. But if you're making payments to us electronically, that's when you have to go and update the routing number and I believe the account number on how to forward those payments to our office. So That's one thing. From a custodial parent aspect or a non-custodial parent aspect where we send them a check, whether it's a refund check to a non-custodial parent or a child support payment to a custodial parent. Let me speak first to custodial parents. If we are sending you a check, I would first and foremost encourage you to sign up for direct deposit or the Relia card through U.S. Bank. You can contact our customer service unit at 302-577-7171 or go onto our website through delaware.gov and you can pull down a direct deposit or Relia card application. Fill that application out and send it to us, and we can enroll you in direct deposit or the Relia card. Sometimes, and that, really, anybody who has a bank account, you should really sign up for direct deposit. Even if you get the 1 or 2 or 3 checks a year, it's always good to have that direct deposit if you have a bank account so that we can just send you those payments electronically. Now, there are some people who do not have bank accounts or do not have the ability to get that U.S. Bank issued Relia card because they don't have a social security number or something along those lines. If you receive a check from us, please know that that check is going to be on a TD Bank check now and issued on a TD Bank account and not the PNC Bank account. Certainly, if you have the ability to deposit it in a bank account, you can certainly do that and nothing is going to change. But again, I'm encouraging people, if you have a bank account, to sign up for the direct deposit. It's so much better to receive those checks electronically rather than in paper form. Now, if you've got a check in your possession right now and you're holding it, and it was issued off the PNC Bank account, I'm just going to encourage you. You have a little bit of time, but I'm encouraging you cash those checks or deposit those checks immediately because we're doing a switch over, and you don't want to have to deal with, if you wait to a certain point next year and you're holding that check, you'll have to come in and we'll have to issue you a new check on the TD Bank account. So if you're holding any checks from us right now and you're delaying going to the bank or you're delaying cashing them, I would certainly ask that you do that immediately. And if you can sign up for the direct deposit or the Relia card at U.S. Bank, you need to do it. Don't hesitate. I just talked to a custodial parent 3 weeks ago, who delayed. She was her non-custodial parent, the father of her children, is a state employee, and payments are coming in so regular. And something happened at the post office, and checks were missing. And I said to her, you need to sign up. And actually, I didn't tell her this, but it's Delaware law that if you have a bank account or you have the ability to get the Relia card, you must do that. It's Delaware law that you sign up for those 2 payment methods. We want to send out as few checks as possible, but the post office mishandled her checks, and they got returned to our office. I told her about the direct deposit, and she said the only reason why she didn't do it was she wanted to open up a separate account just for those checks, and she didn't, for their child support, and she didn't do it. But she did it, and she's filled out the application for direct deposit, and now she's getting her checks, I hope, electronically. There will not be a mishap by the post office or by the child support office or anything. She'll get those checks. So that's some other big activities that are going on as it relates to switching from PNC Bank to TD Bank here in the state of Delaware to handle our child support account. So people will get checks from us, and non-custodial parent gets them sometimes when we refund payments to them. So you have to be aware of the check that we're issuing it. It's no longer going to be PNC beginning on Monday the 14th of November. So that's another thing that's happening. Special thanks to our employees there's a lot of work that goes behind that bank switch over, and they are working. These are some of the employees who are not public facing. They work behind the scenes here at Child Support, and to make that happen, the switch over and to happen on time on the 14th is a huge accomplishment, and we're going to make sure that it is a smooth transition from PNC Bank to TD Bank. Just to kind of put this in some perspective, many years ago, when we did not have direct deposit and did not have the Relia card, Delaware Child Support was sending out like 650,000 checks a year. Now we only send out about 3,000 or 4,000 a year. So there's a huge decrease. That's cost savings to the state of Delaware. That's cost savings to the public when we don't have to buy bank paper to print those checks, ink to process those checks, getting them to the post office, and all of those kind of things. So it's a cost savings, and I would encourage everybody to sign up for direct deposit or the Relia card. One of the things I wanted to say too, and I got kind of sidetracked on some other stuff. If you may not be, there's no comments, which is unusual. Usually we have a few comments by now, but but I'm hoping this Child Support Connection Facebook Live event will be posted to our Facebook page, and you never know who's going to be checking it out and when they're checking it out. So I always like to say to folks, if you know a non-custodial parent who would benefit from hearing the Child Support Connection, it's always on the first Monday of every month from 11:30 to 12:30. And I also mentioned the radio, third Wednesday of every month, WGMD 92.7, 98.5. I always tell people, check out their app on your smartphone. Their app is very good, and the reception is awesome if you listen to things on your telephone. But I'm always encouraging people, if you see this video and you know a non-custodial parent who might benefit from watching one of these Child Support Connection videos, please encourage them to do it. One of the hardest things, and one of the things we've been working on so hard to get accomplished over these years, is to reach out to non-custodial parents to let them know they should never really be. I want to be definitive about this response. They should never be fearful to come to a child support office. They should never be fearful to call the child support office. We will never, as long as I'm the division director here, we will never set somebody up and have the police waiting for them. Come to our office, we want to help you, and then have them arrested. We will never, ever do that. We want to work with non-custodial parents, especially non-custodial parents who are not paying, because we want to encourage them to get on track. And so if you know a non-custodial parent or a custodial parent that would benefit from any of the videos we post on our Facebook page or we post on our YouTube channel, please encourage them to check it out, because we feel like it's going to be by word of mouth that we can encourage non-custodial parents. It's going to sound kind of hokey, but that they have a friend at Child Support, and we want to be able to help them get back on track, give them ideas on how to do that, help them find employment opportunities, and help them really understand what their obligation is here at Child Support. So we have a question, and I thank you for that. Let's see here. I filed back in the beginning of September, and I'm wondering when my ex will be served. So that's a very good question. It's really hard to give you a definitive answer, and some of the things that are impacting that is that there are increases in the shortage, I hope that's can I say that in the same sentence, of employees at family court. They've experienced a shortage of employees similar to us at the child support program, but I think from everything I've heard from the family court is that there's a serious situation over at the courts that are causing a backlog in these documents being processed and being sent to the service of process company. So we have to, whenever there is a new support petition being filed, we have to have that individual served that very first time in person. After the new support petition has been served on the non-custodial parent, any future filings at the family court only have to be done by mail. So, we generate the petition, it goes to the Department of Justice and they sign it, and then it goes to family court. And unfortunately, once it gets to the family court, it's kind of out of our hands. And it really depends on the family court processing that document and getting it to the service of process company, and then actually served on the non-custodial parent. Unfortunately, I can't give you a specific, 30 days and it'll be done. I can't do that for you. My only suggestion would be for this. So you're talking September, October, November. If you haven't heard anything by the beginning of December, I would suggest you contact us at the Child Support Office. Customer Service Unit telephone number is 577-7171, or go to the Delaware Child Support website and look for information on our customer website that will help you have access to your child support worker via email. It's through the my.delaware.gov site, my.delaware.gov. Okay, so you have a follow-up. But I was told, yes, but they told me he had been served by October 16th per law, and here we are now in November, nothing. Stuck in a bad situation because of it. Okay, that is promising. That is so promising. I'm glad you told me that. So the next steps in your particular process: petition was generated, it was sent to the Department of Justice, and it has been served on the non-custodial parent. The next step is for the family court to schedule that hearing. So because it was served on the non-custodial parent in October, I would still wait a couple more weeks, then contact us at Child Support, and we can look into the family court's computer systems to see if a scheduling date, if it's not in our Delaware Child Support system, we can look in the family court system to see has it been scheduled yet. You will receive a notice, unless if you moved, let us know of your current address, but you will receive a notice by mail that says the court mediation session has been scheduled, and this is the date and time, and most importantly, what you need to bring for that court hearing. I'm glad you followed up on that, because if they have served that non-custodial parent, you have just completed a huge hurdle in the establishment of a child support order. And so I want to thank you for following up on that. Okay, so let's see here. The next question. I'm still very frustrated with the response of, let's see here, response or lack of response about my case going to Maryland since the non-custodial parent is living out of state. I emailed a month ago with no clear process answers from my caseworker. I've spent over 6 hours on hold with Maryland awaiting no one to pick up. I dropped off my original paperwork to your office on August 28th of 21 and general statement on 6/1/22. I would love to set up a direct deposit. Okay, so a couple things. If you would be calling the state of Maryland because you live in the state of Maryland, so we can in Delaware send you a direct deposit. So let me back up a little bit. So there's certain cases like Ms. Gallagher's where it's an intergovernmental case. One party resides in the state of Delaware, one person resides in the state of Maryland. So if Ms. Gallagher, if you live in the state of Delaware, we would contact the state of Maryland on your behalf. And I do remember you, but I'm trying to wrap my head around the specifics of your case again. But if the non-custodial parent, let me back up. If the non-custodial parent lives in the state of Maryland, you certainly and you're in Delaware, you certainly can sign up for direct deposit. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. If the non-custodial parent lives in Maryland and you're in Delaware, we will contact the state of Maryland on your behalf to find out what the status of your case is. So I want to make sure that's clear. You should not have to be waiting on the phone with the state of Maryland. We can do that on your behalf if the non-custodial parent lives in that state. But if you live in Maryland, then you do have to reach out to the worker in the state of Maryland, and they will contact Delaware if the non-custodial parent is here to find out what the status of your child support case is here in the state of Delaware. So it's very, depending on what your situation is, I'm sorry I can't remember from a couple of months ago or last month. But if he lives in Delaware, Maryland should be finding out from us what the status of your case is, and we would let them know, and they in turn would let you know. I can't speak to the amount of time you're on hold with the state of Maryland, but if you live in their state, you unfortunately have to deal with the state of Maryland. But we can certainly, if you live here in Delaware, we would certainly feel like it's our responsibility. We have to do that. We have to reach out to the state of Maryland on your behalf. So let me just take another look at this. I email monthly with no coupon. So from this it sounds like, you're in Delaware. So we should be contacting, and I'll go back into my emails and see what I've heard from you in the past. Okay, so you live in Delaware. Now we will reach out to Maryland. We will reach out to Maryland on your behalf. We need to find out what the status is of them creating a case in their jurisdiction. And you certainly, because you live in Delaware, when the non-custodial parent starts to pay Maryland, they're going to pay us, and we're going to send it to you. And you can absolutely sign up for direct deposit. So I will go back into my emails, because I believe you did reach out to us through a private message before, and I will find out what the status of that case being created in the state of Maryland is. And your worker here in Delaware will get back to you on that particular issue. And I am writing it down. All right, so I'm glad to see there are some questions coming in. This is good news. Let's see here. The next question, how can a non-custodial parent pay child support to the other parent if they have to stay home and cannot work to having a disabled child? How can the non-custodial parent pay child support to the other parent if they have to stay home and cannot work due to having a disabled child? So if the non-custodial parent has a disabled child and they are staying home to care for that child, that does present a situation that is not the norm. And my suggestion as a response to this question is that would have to be something that the Department of Justice would have to be consulted. The family court would have to be consulted. The family court would have to weigh in on what that non-custodial parent's level of responsibility is. And if I was I don't want to say betting man, but if I had to surmise what the court would say, they would still make it a requirement that non-custodial parent find a way to be employed in order to pay his child support obligation to you, who has no connection to that disabled child. So I believe it would be an issue that the family court would have to weigh in on, and we would certainly, or could certainly, contact the Department of Justice. Ultimately, if there's a child support order in place, that non-custodial parent is responsible to meet that obligation, and regardless of whether he is caring for another disabled child or not. So my suggestion would be to contact your worker. If you're not getting Ms. Singleton, if you're not getting child support payments and there's an order in place, there's things we can do to make sure that that payment does come in. We could file a contempt petition. If the non-custodial parent, I'm sorry if he has a disabled child, but there's an obligation for him to pay an order, and we would use all of our enforcement tools, including a contempt petition with the family court here in Delaware. So I want to make sure I'm not missing any questions here. Okay. The absent dad sent a payment 2 weeks ago, and I still don't have it. Are you behind on posting payments? He sent a money order. He said, but I don't have it yet. We are absolutely not behind on logging or posting of payments. So if you have not received a payment in 2 weeks, that's potentially an issue that we need to look into. Sometimes when non-custodial parents make payments by money order, sometimes they forget. I'm not saying this is what's happening in your case, but sometimes they forget to leave off key information, their name, their case numbers, or their social security numbers, so that we can appropriately apply those payments to the correct case. So we have ways of holding those payments so we can absolutely 100% be sure that we're logging it to the correct payment. So what I'm going to do is make a note of your name. I don't want you to put his name in the chat. And I will look up your case and do a little tracking to see if we have his payment on what we call our unidentified account, to see if we can get it to the right, get it to your case. Did he happen to say how much the payment was for? That might be something else you can share with me. That would be helpful. Now, you also, Ms. Littleton, bring up a great thing that I'm glad you mentioned. The one thing I want to mention is, now this the month of November, this week, tomorrow, November 8th, and Friday, November 11th. Tomorrow is Election Day, and today and Friday is Veterans Day. The Division of Child Support offices are closed. 408. The Division of Child Support offices are closed in all 3 counties for those 2 state holidays. So payments, there may be a delay in payments being processed. Either the middle part of this week or the beginning part of next week. We ask parents to be patient. One of the things we pride ourselves on here at the Child Support Office is getting those payments, any child support payment, logged into the child support system and out of the child support system in the hands of custodial parents very timely. Normally it's 24 hours. That's our standard. The federal government, the Federal Child Support Program, gives all child support agencies 48 hours to get those payments out the door. But like I said, Veterans Day on the 11th and Election Day, which is tomorrow the 8th, that's going to cause some delay in payment processing. And then at the end of November, Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving are also state holidays. So you may see a delay in payments being logged the last week of November and the first week of December. But we do try extremely hard to get those payments processed. Of course, we want accuracy. We want to make sure people are getting those payments in a timely fashion. But that brings up a very good point. So by chance, it may be there, but you don't know who to post it to. Absolutely correct. It could be here, and we don't know who to post it to. So we don't want to mispost it. We don't want to guess, or this could be this case over here. We want to make sure we got the case. How can I find out if you do have a payment there and that it's not been posted? I'm going to look up your case after this child support connection and see if I can do some investigating myself, or with the help of our customer service unit child support specialist. I'm hoping we have your phone number in our child support system. Don't put it in the comments, or an email address, and one of us will reach out to you as to whether there's a payment of $408 here that we can apply to your child support case. And who knows, my executive assistant may be viewing this child support connection and actually looking up your case as we speak to see if there is a payment we can apply there. But I will work with the accounting. I will work with the accounting unit and customer service, and we will reach out to you. Either way, whether there is a payment in that unidentified account for $408 or not. Yep, great. We certainly, we just so you know too, we don't want the feds, the federal government, us as a child support agency, we absolutely do not want payments sitting here. We want to get those payments out the door to custodial parents. And in some cases, we're refunding non-custodial parents. We do not want money sitting here, absolutely. So we want to get it out the door. Okay. Let's see here. My husband requested arrears payments to be stopped at the end of October. How long does that request take to process? So I think I remember you from last month, and thank you again for tuning into the Child Support Connection. So if he requested it at the end of October, and he requested it to the Child Support Office, it would have been processed by a notice of administrative adjustment to remove that arrears payment. And normally, it should not take too long. I would say 14 days, maybe a tad less, really, to process that. To process that notice of administrative adjustment. I would say to you, if you, because he'll get a copy of it once we've processed it in the mail. If he doesn't get it, say 25 days, 20 days after the date he contacted us, I would have somebody reach out again and find out what the status of it is. One of the things that I also want to talk about, I'm going to make sure there's no more questions here, and I don't see any, is there's no new questions. So, one of the things I've been, the last couple months, even on the radio and here at the Child Support Connection, I've been really pushing folks to go to my.delaware.gov. And it's good, if you go to my.delaware.gov, any Delawarean has the opportunity to create, by creating a username and a password, an account with my.delaware.gov. I have an account with my.delaware.gov. That gives me access to other departments in state government, other offices like the unemployment office at the Department of Labor. But what it does for child support, custodial and non-custodial parents, it gives you an opportunity to download an app, the DCSS customer website. If you go to that and create a username for my.delaware.gov and then the customer website for DCSS, you will have access to your child support case. You will have access to print an account statement, to communicate with your worker. Never wait on hold again with our customer website. You can email your worker directly, non-custodial parent, custodial parent, and communicate with them. You can ask a question about a payment. You can look at your account statement and print that account statement from home. You can send us updated address information, updated employer information, but you have to go to my.delaware.gov and download the app for the DCSS customer website. You'll never, ever have to wait on hold again. And it's for custodial parents and non-custodial parents. All you have to have is a child support case here in Delaware. So, and if anybody that's, any of the 8 people viewing, if you have access to the customer website, I certainly would encourage some comments in this Facebook Live event to encourage others to do it, because it's it is a good thing to have. Yeah, you don't want to wait on hold. You don't want to wait on hold. So I encourage people to do that. Another question: if a payment for arrears is made on your automated system on the phone, how long does it take to process? My ex made a payment 2 weeks ago, and nothing from that has showed up. Also, is it true the Division of Child Support is shorthanded? And is that a reason why the payments are not going through on time? So, thank you for that question, Ms. Weaver. And yes, we are experiencing, yes to not all of that question. We are experiencing a delay in hiring child support specialists. And there are some other positions in our accounting unit that we are actively trying to fill. So yes, we at Child Support, we are experiencing some vacancies, and we are working hard to fill those vacancies. I'm glad to hear that he made a payment on the phone over there, because that is a new system that we have here at Child Support. That non-custodial parents or other entities can make a payment via the 577-7171 telephone number. By making a payment by phone, it should be a timely process, not 2 weeks. I mean, I believe it's similar to when someone makes a payment through our iPay Online website. So there should not be a delay of any significant time, especially not 2 weeks for that payment to be processed. So what I would encourage you to do too is you can either send a message to us through a private message through Facebook. You can call the customer service unit telephone number and let them know that he made a payment. I don't know, Ms. Weaver, if you know how much that payment was that he made via the telephone system. But if you do, you can type it in the chat, and I can write it down, and we can also look it up to see if maybe there's an issue with that payment. I'm writing your name down. And we will certainly, but there should be no significant amount of time for that payment to process. The maximum would be less than 2 days. So I certainly want to do a little bit more research. You can send us a personal message, and you believe it was for 545. Okay, 545. So we will look at that. Do you have a drop slot to avoid things being lost in the mail? So so Child Support has 3 offices statewide, one in Newcastle, one in Kent, one in Sussex. The only office that has a drop box is our Newcastle County office. It's located on the side of the building in front of our office at the Churchman's Corporate Center location. So that drop box is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. People roll up and make a payment all hours of the day and night on the weekends. But the other 2 offices down in Kent and Sussex County do not have a drop box. And one of the reasons why we do not want that to, in Newcastle, that's where our state disbursement unit is located. That's where all of the payments are processed. So we don't want to have to the reason why we don't have them in our Kent and Sussex County offices, we don't have a courier going down to those 2 lower offices 5 days a week. We just can't do it. So that would delay those payments sitting in our downstate offices, and we don't want that to happen either. So we only accept in all 3 offices, but specifically in our downstate offices, license suspension payments. If you want to get your license reinstated or you want to stop it from being suspended, we will accept those payments in all 3 offices directly. And if the courts say to the non-custodial parent, you have to make a payment to avoid being incarcerated, we will accept those payments in all 3 offices. check or money order, certified check or money order. We do not, in all three offices, we do not accept cash payments. Everything has got to be either check or money order or certified check, depending on how those how the non-custodial parent has been ordered to make those payments. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you. That's a great question about the Dropbox. I use the Delaware.gov portal all the time with good luck. But I've tried to send messages Thursday and Friday of last week. It would not send. I got tired of retyping the message. I'm sorry to hear that. I would hope that through the my.delaware.gov website that you would continue to try to do that. And I don't know why there were problems. We could certainly look into that also, and I'll make a note of that. Okay, and we will look into that concern. But I'm encouraged. I'm trying to, if you know people who have a child support case, I'm really encouraging people to sign up for that my.delaware.gov website. It's in the Delaware Child Support website. It's just a time saver, and it's really something you can do at your leisure, and look at your case and have information on that. Has there been any talk of doing payments electronically instead of receiving them from the post? I believe I've read other states are doing this. So has there been any talk of doing payments electronically instead of receiving them from the post? I'm not really, Ms. Weaver, I'm not really sure what you mean by that. So, but I can tell you this, and if you want to clarify while I'm saying this, I think this will answer your question. So, child support. We receive payments in many forms, electronically. A non-custodial parent, an employer, can go to iPay Online. That's a website, iPay Online. And they can make a payment to child support electronically through iPay Online. They can pay it from a credit card, a bank account. They can pay a one-time payment. They can make those payments. They can set it up so on the 15th of every month, I want a payment to come out of my bank account and pay child support. Employers can send us payments electronically. There's a mechanism. We work with them to set up that process. When they get a wage withholding, they're required to make a deduction to an employee's paycheck and send it to us. They can send it to us electronically. So there's an individual can go to probation offices, the DMVs in all three counties, and we have a kiosk. They can make a cash payment at the kiosk, and that payment comes to us electronically. So that's how we get those payments electronically. We send payments to custodial parents electronically to direct deposit into a bank account. I see you're following up. You receive check payments from employers through the mail, correct? Can I find out which my ex's employer does? Yes, and that we do also receive payments by check from employers. Now, we've recently, a couple legislative sessions ago, passed legislation, and the governor signed it, Governor Carney signed it, that requires employers in the state of Delaware who have more than, I believe it's 50 employees, that if they're going to make a payment to child support, they have to pay it electronically. So, there's employers that employ 50 employees, but only pay 10 child support payments. They have to send it to us electronically. Now you're asking a question about can we let you know what employer is sending, if his employer sends us payments electronically. And unfortunately, I cannot tell you that. I can't tell you that because, and I'm not saying, I've been around child support for a long time, and not every two cases are the same. Not every custodial parent is the same. But we do not tell custodial parents where people work And I'm not, that's nothing against you personally. That's not, we just don't want to, we try to protect people's confidentiality. And we've had people in the past where we've told them where they worked. This was years ago when when I was a worker, we would tell somebody where they work, and then, custodial parents are calling that employer trying to find out where the payments are. It's just better to keep Delaware Child Support in the middle. Let us act as the middleman. But we do accept payments from employers. But if an employer hires over 30 people, they really, the law requires that they send us those payments electronically. But we still do receive payments by check. So let's see here. There's a question. I want to make sure I didn't miss it. I've been waiting for a return email from my worker. So if you've been waiting for a response from your child support worker, my suggestion would be this, is to contact us by telephone or send them a new message via the customer website and see if that gets a response. They're really supposed to respond to inquiries within 72 hours. So if you haven't received a response, please do so. Got to get back to work. I look forward to hearing back from someone about the missing payment. You absolutely will. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And please encourage people who don't know about the Child Support Connection. The first Monday of every month, please encourage them to tune in. We certainly want people to, if you haven't heard about this, we certainly want people to share the Child Support Connection with their friends and families. And they may not even have a child support case, but there may be somebody that they can share it with and that has a child support case and that can tune in. Next month, December 5th, that is the next Child Support Connection from 11:30 to 12:30. Please tune in, and just like you saw today, and if you may watch this in a couple weeks. This is an opportunity. If you have problems with your case, I'm able to write down some information. I can do some research with our staff. I've got people watching from the Child Support Office. They're taking notes. This is a way to get child support issues resolved, especially if you are due a payment and you think that payment is here. Like there's 2 cases here today. We need to find out where those potential payments are and get those payments out to people. So if anything, what I'm hoping the Child Support Connection will provide is a way to get answers and issues resolved. Wednesday, the 16th of November, from 10, starts about 10:15ish, from 10 to 11, 92.7, 98.5, WGMD. Check out their app. If you have a smartphone, download their app. It's really good. And you can hear questions and answers. Call in. I'm really encouraging people. I want to take telephone calls over 92.7, 98.5. Jake Smith has given us an awesome opportunity to come and talk to people. You can live in Newcastle County. Download the app. Listen to the radio conversation. Call in with a question. We definitely want to help folks in the first state get answers to their child support questions. So everyone, have a good Thanksgiving. If you need help with your child support case, contact us. We want to help you with resolving your child support concerns. And I would just want to wish everybody, again, happy Thanksgiving. Don't forget, tomorrow, the 8th, the 11th, the child support offices are closed. Thanksgiving Day, which is the 24th, and the day after Thanksgiving, child support offices are closed. Thank you for tuning in to the Child Support Connection. Wait, there was one last question. If my ex is behind in payments, do you make them catch up to avoid suspension of licenses or incarceration? We make them comply with their child support orders to avoid a license suspension or incarceration. That's really the big thing. They must comply with the child support order. To get a license back, we look for lump sum payments. in good faith to comply with that child support order. So I hope I was able to get that in before you had to go back to work. But thank you, everybody. Take care, and we will see you December 5th on the Child Support Connection. Take care and be safe.